up being one of those ones where just out of necessity, you have to do it.
I personally would love to go to Spain, and while we have a vacant belt in our main event, our co-main event is kind of the opposite of that because Alexandre Pantoja has just been defending his belt time and time again, now facing off against Kai Kara-France, who he has fought in the past on Ultimate Fighter, but now they get to do it at the UFC stage.
First off, I like that you lobbied to go to Spain if they do end up doing that event. I certainly don't blame you. That'll be one heck of a card.
We want to go to Spain.
Yeah, let's go to. Let's just go anyways.
But, yeah, for fun.
Yeah, just for fun.
Site visit.
But yeah, co-main event Kai Kara-France. This guy is one of the most powerful strikers in the flyweight division. He's got massive power in his hands. I think they showed yesterday of his 25 wins, I think 15 are by KO or something along those lines. For a guy that weighs in 125 pounds, that's irregular power. Whereas Pantoja, super well-rounded. His submission game has always been his specialty, but his striking has really leveled up in recent years, and he's looking to become perhaps the greatest flyweight champion of all time. I mean, it'll be very difficult to do given that Demetrius Johnson holds that accolade right now and the amount of title defenses he had. But with Pantoja being 35, he'll be the first to ever defend the championship at that age in the flyweight division, which I think would be a feat in and of itself. And Kai Kara-France, I don't think is going to be an easy opponent for him, but I think that it's certainly going to be a fun matchup because Kai Kara-France, one of the things he's best at is keeping the fight on the feet. His takedown defense is really good, and if that's the case, I think he's got a fighting chance.
Technically, when they had their bout at the Ultimate Fighter back in 2016, Alexandre Pantoja did come out on top, but we saw at the press conference yesterday, Kai Kara-France said he was just a kid back then. Now he's a full-grown man, so it has been almost a decade since that happened. Do you expect to see a different result this time around?
I mean, that being said, Pantoja was, I guess, only, he's, 35 now, so he would have been like 26 at the time, so he was pretty young in his own right. But yeah, I think there's going to be a different fight. I think both these guys have evolved a lot since that Ultimate Fighter season, which I think is one of the best Ultimate Fighter seasons ever if you haven't had a chance to check it out. It's all flyweight champions from all over the world looking to face the flyweight champion. Looking to face the flyweight champion at the end of it also. Ended up being a great season, and I'm very excited to see how it plays out with Pantoja.
Can I make you feel a little bit old here for a second?
I mean, it's pretty hard to do, as I always feel pretty old, but go ahead.
That season of The Ultimate Fighter was during my senior year of high school.
All right, well, there you go.
So I feel like I got a little bit of Kai
Kara-France. It feels like it
in me
wasn't
too.
that long ago for me to just be watching that, so, I mean, that's the weird part about that.
So I agree with Kara-France. I feel like I was just a kid back then, and now I'm an adult. But we have John Anik on the stage now, so let's send it over to him.
The middleweight opener between Chris Evert and Jackson McVeigh is off. McVeigh is still going to weigh in. The company will try to book him in short order. Chris Evert was going to be several pounds over. He has been cut from the UFC. All right, we begin with the gentleman around whom this fight card was built, the former UFC undisputed featherweight champion, now moving up to the lightweight division and competing in our main event, Ilia Topuria.
$155.5 for Ilia Topuria. I think they're going to calibrate the scale and look at this again and see how it goes. They could always bring out the box as well.
When moving up a division.
Okay, so the scale recalibrated. Ilia seemed pretty confident that he was on weight, so he makes weight at 155 pounds, and one half of the main event is now official.
I was just about to ask, when you move up to a different weight class, how difficult is it to get to that new weight?
If you're moving up, it's typically kind of a slam dunk, really, because you've just made 145 pounds in your most recent fight. But that said, you're putting on mass, so anything can happen. And here comes Kai Kara-France, the challenger for the UFC Flyweight Championship. He forgot to take the necklace off. We're having some fun already with these first two weigh-ins. He looks shredded. 125 for the challenger, Kai Kara-France.
I was about to say Topuria didn't take his necklace off, so maybe that's making all the difference. Yeah.
All right, next fighter to the scale is the future UFC Hall of Famer, the most decorated fight stopper of all time, and the former undisputed UFC lightweight champion of the world, Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira.
Well, this is promising because Oliveira has had issues with weight in the past. primarily when he was at 145 pounds, but he looks like he's in good spirits. $154.5.
The official weight for Charles Du Bronx Oliveira.
Du Bronx. Main event is official.
All confirmed. I think that was the biggest question mark we kind of had here.
Yeah, I mean, Charles, when he fought Justin Gaethje and was the champion, he missed weight for that and actually had to vacate the championship as a result. It was only, I think, a half a pound over. All right, so we might have all of the championship fights official right off the bat.
125, the
Pantoja,
official weight
125
for
pounds.
Pantoja, and with that, the flyweight
All
title
right.
is also now official.
We're breezing through this. We got all our championship fights confirmed in the first couple minutes.
Usually they have them weigh in right off the bat, just so that you can have those guys, the most important fights, out of the way first. So that's great to see that everybody was able to make weight. Here's Felipe Lima, who's going to be opening the main card against Peyton Talbot, two great prospects right now in the UFC.
135 and a half. The official weight for Felipe Lima.
For Lima. That's going to be a great fight, that opening fight with Peyton Talbot. He's looking to bounce back in a big way after losing to Jaime Barcelos. He was like a 7-1 favorite, and it was a massive upset, so he's looking to show that that was just an anomaly. Here's Slava Claus. Trains out at Team Alpha Male in Sacramento. Former training partner of proper Mike Malott, Canadian star.
I'm keeping a tabs on who's taking their necklace off and who's leaving their necklace on.
155.
For Slava Bolshoi.
All right, next fighter to the scale was to compete in a middleweight prelim, weighing in even though his fight has been canceled, Jackson McVeigh.
So the reason why McVeigh is weighing in, even though his opponent will not be weighing in and the fight is off, is just to show that he was able to make the weight, and that way he'll get his show money for doing his part in that fight. And it's tough for him. He's an undefeated fighter, was looking to make his UFC debut, and his opponent from this week, Cedric Dumas, had to pull out earlier this week. They replaced him, and now the replacement is going to miss weight, and that fight's pulled. So feel bad for McVeigh.
Unfortunate there.
Because you work all this time, and he was an LFA veteran to get to the UFC, and unfortunately, his debut will have to wait. Nico Price. Nobody with 7 kids should have this much energy. Nico Price.
Maybe that's why he has this much energy.
Maybe his kids aren't with him, is what you mean? He's getting sleep. And Nico Price might be the biggest underdog in the recent UFC history. He's a plus 1,100 underdog against Jacoby Smith.
The official weight for Nico Price.
He's telling everyone here to wake up. See, that's a dad move, being up this early in the morning.
Kids. Get out of bed.
Next fighter to the scale, one half of the featured prelim in the middleweight division. Back for the first time in a long time, Jack the Joker Hermanson.
I love this guy, Jack the Joker Hermanson. He's got one of the better smiles in the UFC, and maybe that's why they call him the Joker, but great fighter as well. More than just a pretty smile.
He's locked in.
Oh, yeah. I think he's been here in Las Vegas for some time, getting acclimated to
the official weight
the
for
time
Jack
zone.
Hermanson.
The difference between him and Nico Price was during that way.
Yeah, he's a little bit more stoic.
Middleweight Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez.
Here he is, Hobocop, Gregory Rodriguez, who unfortunately fell short in his recent main event opportunity in his last fight, but looks to bounce back against Jack Hermanson.
$186, the official
186 pounds
for Gregory Rodriguez.
No box yet.
Nope. It's always a good sign. Here comes Beneil Dariush. He was supposed to fight against Renato Moicano this past January. But as a result of Arman Tsarukyan, who we are expecting to weigh in today as well, as a backup, not being able to compete on that card, Moicano got pulled, put into the main event, and as a result, Terrance was left without an opponent. So this is kind of the makeup fight between him and Moicano from earlier this year.
I really like the banter that they had going on at the press conference about being two of the older fighters facing off in this one.
Beneil is just too nice of a guy to talk trash, which doesn't make him a great fit for a Moicano opponent, because Moicano will talk all the time. Guy loves to talk.
He's got a whopping 15 days on Dariush.
Yeah. Well, actually, 15 days less.
15 days less, yes.
156, the official mark for Renato Moicano.
So interestingly, Moicano's a guy that used to fight at 45. Oliveira used to fight at 45. Topuria used to fight at 45, and they've all moved up to 55. Now, this is a big storyline because Dana White revealed yesterday this is likely a title eliminator in the flyweight division. Joshua Van already fought this month, so taking the fight on short notice. Manel Kopp had to pull out, and as a result, Van now taking on Brandon Royval. Royval, the number 1 contender. Van ranked number 12, so big opportunity for him.
How difficult is it to fight in such close proximity to your last?
All right, next man to the
I think it depends on who you are and how tough the weight cut is for you. I think Van has actually missed weight before, if I'm not mistaken. But at the same time, young guy, seemingly able to bounce back, had a really good fight. And I think you get an opportunity like that, you hop on. This is a newcomer to the UFC, Alvin Hines. Goozy, as they call him. I believe he's undefeated as well, and he's taking on Jonathan Denise. He's a big boy, 259 and a half.
For Alvin Hines.
You see that smile?
He's excited. Good opportunity for him.
Weigh in the number 8 ranked flyweight in the women's division, Viviane Araujo.
He is Viviane Araujo, always a tough opponent for anybody to face. She's so well-rounded, great everywhere.
$125 and a half. The official weight
was
for
at her
Viviane
debut
Araujo.
in Brazil. I believe it was UFC 236, and she took a short notice fight and got a win. And I was like, this girl's got something, and as a result, she's continued her upwards trajectory. That fight was at bantamweight. Now she's back at flyweight, which is her best weight class. Has also fought as light as 115.
Top-ranked contender Arman Tsarukyan.
So here's Arman Tsarukyan, who is weighing in as the backup. Both fighters in the main event have made weight, but you never know if there are any health complications after the fact. It's always good to make that weight. And from what I understand, Arman is weighing in for this event, might be weighing in as well in a couple weeks for the New Orleans card, headlined by Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway. I think he wants to show the UFC that what happened in January was an anomaly.
155, the official weight for Arman Tsarukyan.
And he makes the championship weight 155 pounds in case his services are needed tomorrow night. But
All right, next fighter to weigh in this morning, competing in
I think he wants to show the UFC that what happened in January is not going to happen again. And here's Jacoby Smith. This kid is just an absolute beast, former wrestler at Oklahoma State University. Had one of the most impressive Contender Series showings, unfortunately against the Canadian fighter Christian Savoie. But his debut also super impressive. And now he looks to continue
170 and a half, the
his
official
success.
weight for Jacoby Smith.
And he is the biggest favorite I think we've seen since Bo Nickel
All right, next fighter to
fought
the
Val
scale.
Woodburn. I think that was international fight like 2 years ago.
Number 1 ranked contender in the flyweight division, Brandon Raw Dog Royval.
And here's Royval. I mean, this guy's like 5'9" and makes 125 pounds, which probably can't be easy, but he's never had any issues making the weight.
We'll see if that streak continues.
125.
You guys have
and
a
half.
mutual friend in
The
Nathan
official weight
McKinnon,
for
from what I
Brandon
understand.
Royval.
I'm excited to ask him about that for sure. I do not think Nathan McKinnon is 125 pounds.
All right,
Nathan
next
McKinnon
fighter
definitely
to
not 125 pounds. I'm closer to 125 pounds than Nathan McKinnon is.
Hyder Emil. $145 and a half for
Hyder Emil. And hopefully now he can go enjoy a meal after cutting weight. That was for you, Dan Fernandez, our producer, fellow dad joke enthusiast.
I'm not going to grace you with a laugh for that pun, but
as long as I get it from Dan.
yeah.
Dan is like the Phil Giroux of the show. I just make jokes and he holds his coffee cup and laughs.
Laughing in the
Yeah.
distance. But it is such a grueling week for all of these fighters to be able to make weight. What is that process like for the fans at home who don't really know exactly what they go through?
Yeah, I mean, they go through a lot. So they have to alter their diet in the weeks leading up to, cut down from their normal weight. And then when it comes to fight week, usually they have to cut the final pounds. And those are the toughest pounds to come off because they're always looking to, do either like a sauna to get the weight off, water weight. Sometimes they have these heavy blankets that they lay in and they just sweat it out. But it's a really involved process. And thankfully, in recent years, probably the last decade, nutritionists, especially those that work for the UFC at the Performance Institute here, have it down to a science. And they test the fighters out and see what their optimal weight class is. They give them a diet to follow. They give them really good instructions. And as a result, we haven't seen as many weight misses as I believe we used to see in the past because people were just kind of shooting from the hip and doing it their own way. And now that there's a more involved system with it, it's made it a lot easier for them to make weight. But it's a grueling, hellacious process for these individuals to go through. Because you look at a guy like Oliveira, for example, like I wouldn't be surprised if he walks into the cage tomorrow at like 173 pounds. He weighs 155 today, right? So you're putting on 16, 17 pounds. In some cases even more. Like in the middleweight division, guys weigh in at 185. They can fight as high as 225, 223. We're talking 40 pounds being put on in like 24 hours. Or just a little bit more than 24 hours when they walk into the cage. So it's a pretty crazy thing to think about. Like they're gaining that much weight in like 30 hours and then getting into a cage and fighting. So, I mean, it's really the fight before the fight for a lot of fighters. A lot of them would prefer to just go in and fight, and they have more nerves about making this weight than they do about the fight itself.
The actual fight, I feel like I want to do an experiment to see how much weight I can put on in 24 hours, and it's going to be nowhere close. It's going to be like 1 pound maximum.
Oh, I thought you were going to say how much weight you could cut in 24 hours.
Both. I should do both. I should do a full weigh-in experience,
All
and
right,
I'm going to test it out.
Hopefully our features team is listening, and we can do like a test weight cut with you.
I mean, I am a sauna enthusiast, so I wouldn't mind like
All
cooking
right.
in a sauna for quite some time. But you were mentioning Charles Oliveira and the storyline about how it might be a little bit difficult for him to make weight. He does eventually do it. But on the other side, Ilia Topuria, when you move up a weight class, what kind of advantages does that give you? Because we've seen how successful Topuria has been, and now he has a couple extra pounds. Does that add to his performance?
Yeah, so it's interesting. A lot of people like to fight at the weight class where they have the biggest advantage in terms of weight, in terms of size. But I don't feel like that's always the best move. You look at fighters that move up, and you look at Topuria's attitude this week, and he's just so much happier. And he's fought at 55 before. His best weight class might be 45. Like, you look at Conor McGregor, I think at 145 pounds, he was an unstoppable force. But the weight cut at a point becomes just so hard for you to do in order to have that advantage that when you are able to fight up a weight class, you have that peace of mind going in, and you get to be a little bit heavier as well when you're entering the cage. You have a bit of a speed advantage probably because you're moving up, but you do lose that size, and I think that is where a lot of people are disadvantaged. You know, Charles used to fight at 45, but those years are long behind him. Like he's fought at 155 pounds for probably 7-8 years now, so he's a legit 55er. Same, you could say the same for Moicano. Like I don't think that there's any amount of money you could pay these guys, Oliveira and Moicano, to go back to 45. Some fighters do at some stage in their career when they kind of are trying to make a last-ditch effort, or they feel like they have a better chance of winning a title later in their career in a different weight class. Maybe they'll move around a little bit, but I think that moving up a weight class just gives them a little bit more peace of mind. And I think with Topuria, he is on the shorter side for the division. Like we've got guys in the 155-pound division, 6'1", 6'2", and he's 5'9". So I think that's where that discrepancy can make something of a difference.
Do you think in Topuria's case it was to have that peace of mind, or do you think it's just he wants to prove something based off of how much success he's had, and now being a 2-division title is just the next step to add?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Like I think if you look at 145 pounds, you're beating Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway in back-to-back fights. Like these are two of the greatest to ever do it in that weight class. What's next for you there, right? Holloway's already moved up to 55. Volkanovski's, you can do the rematch with Volkanovski, but you just beat the guy. Do you really want to run that back when you have the edge in that situation? What's the upside? And then you look at the challengers. There was like Diego Lopez. These are not intriguing fights for Ilia Topuria if you're trying to build a legacy. And that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to build a legacy. But on the flip side of that, he also told us earlier this week that he was miserable cutting the weight. He said he wanted to quit the sport. That's how much he hated cutting the weight to 145 pounds. So I think it's both peace of mind and then also building upon his legacy and trying to win a second title, because anybody who's won a second title in the UFC, again, their legacy is enshrined in the history books.
Where would you rank him in terms of current UFC fighters if he's able to pull this off?
I mean, it could be number one. Like, this guy's just he's a buzzsaw. A, he's undefeated. B, he's in his 20s. To do that and be a two-division champion, and then your resume in your last 3 fights, Volkanovski, Holloway, and then you've got Oliveira, like, those are 3 legends of the sport. Why don't we go back to John Anik, and Peyton Talbot is making his way to the scale. Got this assignment, at least it was reported on short notice. I don't know how long he's been in camp for this fight, but this fight was announced, I believe, about 2 weeks ago.
$136, the official weight for Peyton Talbot.
He makes the weight, and as he makes the weight, we have a special guest joining us who happens to be his opponent. Felipe Lima, up-and-coming fighter. Been a pleasure watching your fight so far in the UFC, sir. So, when did you find out about this opportunity?
Well, they called me 5 weeks ago to fight Jonathan Martinez, but he got injured, so he jumped off. So we had some problem to find an opponent, so they called us 2 weeks, and then they told us we're going to fight Peyton, so yeah.
How difficult is it to adjust your strategy when you find out that your opponent has changed?
I mean, we're always in training camp, so it's just a small adjustment. We have time for that, so like, it was good.
So how long have you known you were going to be fighting on this card?
5 weeks.
So 5 weeks. So with that in mind, that opponent pivots. Peyton Talbot was one of the top prospects in the UFC, but lost his last fight. Do you feel like there's a little bit less steam in beating him that perhaps there would have been had he won his last fight?
I mean, for me, it doesn't matter. What matters is the win. Doesn't matter who's against who. In the end of the day, it's just about winning the fight. That's all.
What does this fight mean for you? You're such an exciting prospect in the sport and such a big opportunity on this main card. So what are you looking to get out of it?
This fight for me is to show the people who I am, the Jungle Boy, and that show my name and my fight style and everything. So that to people to get to know me.
What took you so long to get to the UFC? I feel like you had so many great fights on the regional scene internationally. How did you get the UFC's attention? Because I feel like you probably should have been in the UFC a couple years ago.
Well, it's not easy to get in the UFC. You know, there's a lot. Today they may grow so fast, so there's a lot of fighters. So you gotta work hard to deserve the opportunity. And I was there, waiting for my opportunity. Came 5 weeks notice and 5-day notice, and I got it.
Well, patient pays off. Now, you were mentioning your nickname and how you want to prove it to be true. So what was the process behind deciding that to be your nickname?
Well, I had a first nickname, but my friends didn't like, and because I come from the jungle, you know, and they told me, oh, why you don't say Jungle Boy? You come from the jungle. That's who you are. And I was like, you know what? All right, let's do it. So my friend made me.
What was the first nickname?
We need to know. We need to know what the first nickname was.
The Gold. The Gold.
The GOAT or the Gold?
The Gold, yeah.
And how did that nickname come about?
Because my first coach, he saw me in training, and then he told me, oh, this guy, he's like a gold. You gotta appreciate him, something like this.
Yeah, I think Jungle Boy's better. You agree?
I do. I have to agree with your friend. Unfortunately, we have to give him credit. You want to give him a shout out?
Yeah, a shout out to Guram Katulazi.
All right. Oh, Guram.
Yeah,
he was a coach of yours as well?
He's my friend, actually, yeah.
Yeah, he's coaching Ilya Topuria. I think he's going to be in his corner.
Yeah, I think so too. He's in the training camp with Topuria. And Good is a friend of mine, he's my brother, so we train together as well. So yeah.
Is your team Topuria this weekend?
Oh, that's a hard.
Yeah, because you're Brazilian, right? So you've got Oliveira. That's a tough one.
I'll be out of this.
All right. He's abstaining. He's punting on it. Well, it's a pleasure to have you join us, Felipe, and
Thank you.
we're looking forward to seeing more great fights from you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
All right, it's Felipe Lima joining us. And we just saw his opponent, Peyton Talbot, make 136 pounds, so that fight has no complications. We're good to go, and I'm excited for that fight. I think that's a great main card opener.
Yeah, you were just about to say two such exciting young fighters, and he seems so excited to be at the UFC stage, and it's taken a while to get here, but what a great kickoff to this awesome main card we have in store on Saturday.
Yeah, I think Peyton Talbot is going to really try to make a statement. After losing that fight as such a big favorite, everybody expected him to win. You know, it's one of those situations where that's a bad place to be, because if everybody's expecting you to win and you lose, and just look at the betting line on this one. I mean, Lima is minus 190, Talbot plus 155. Like, people have given up on this guy.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it feels like to me, because it's all public perception. And I think that with you losing as that big of a favorite, people like think, hey, maybe this guy just wasn't that good. And now he has to prove otherwise.
I was just going to ask you too. There's a couple of underdogs on this card that are standing out to me that perhaps are being a little bit overlooked right now. Is there one particular upset that you think could happen?
Well, I think there's a lot that could happen. I mean, it's MMA, right? It's crazy. I mean, I think Viviane Araujo at plus 200, I think that number's a little bit wide. If you're asking me about like who has more value, I think that with her versatility, I think she's somebody who really is able to do it all in the cage, and I think that her winning the first 2 rounds of that fight against Tracy Cortez is certainly a possibility. I think that down the stretch, that's where Tracy Cortez is going to shine, and we've got somebody joining us right now, just an absolute beast in the UFC, training with the great Saif Sayoud. Jacoby Smith, thank you for joining us. We're Canadian. Please don't treat us the same way as you've treated our countryman Christian Savoy on
Hey, I'm
on
actually
the
half
Contender Series.
American. I'm half American.
Well,
so.
I mean, his last opponent was American too, so.
My favorite pizza is Canadian bacon, so it's all love, baby.
All right, we have a fan of P-meal bacon, so we appreciate that. We call it P-meal bacon in Canada.
Nice. You said P-now?
P-meal bacon.
Do we?
I think so.
I've never heard anyone call it. He's lying to you.
Well, you're half American, so I mean, that half doesn't know.
It's ham.
It's half true story.
So you come from Oklahoma State. You wrestled, and you're bringing that to the cage. Tell us about your transition from wrestling to MMA and how you decided to start taking up MMA, which obviously was the right decision given how we've seen you perform.
So the transition was smooth like butter. I just believe it was in my destiny. I mean, when I was a kid growing up, I loved fighting more than anything. And what better way to do it than with your sisters? I didn't have a brother growing up. I didn't find out that I had a brother until later on in life. We got different moms, but he was a Golden Gloves champ, and my sisters put it on me more than he did, So kudos to them for that, but always from the beginning, I knew that transition was going to be smooth, and I'm grateful for it all.
So what I'm hearing is your career began with your sisters getting a winning record against you at home?
Absolutely.
And now when you have your wrestling background transitioning into MMA, how big of a strong point is that for you?
It's strong because it's not like I use that and I dominate and take advantage of it. I just know I got that in my back pocket. So if I need safety, that's my safe. Can't nobody get to it. So I just use it in that aspect, and we'll see how much, if I got to go to the safe with Nico Price,
You got to go to the safe. Your coach, Saif Sayoud, this guy is a wizard and a fantastic coach. So what have you learned from training with him?
A lot. Focus, balance, and a nice little mental game that keeps me able to manage my energy to a science to where I believe for me is perfect.
You're a 25-1 favorite. You don't see that very often. I think the last time we saw that with Bo Nickel, another credentialed wrestler. Does that give you any sort of extra pressure, or making you feel like there's really no choice but to win this fight? I'm sure you approach every fight like that, but it's a pretty big number.
It ain't no pressure, man. I don't even look into all that. But, I mean, afterwards I'll soak it in. But right now I don't care, man. I'm the underdog. To me, they put me him as the favorite and me as the underdog, and I mean, I'm taking it as it is.
When preparing to fight Nico Price, is there something specific you focused on ahead of this bout?
No, no matter who I'm fighting, I'm professional. We are professional, so I take everybody serious, and I do everything. I got my system, and, I'm not taking him lightly just as well as I wouldn't take, JDM lightly, I'm just focused on his strengths, and I tweaked my game to be able to fall asleep and be able to still handle business.
All right, well, if you haven't seen Jacoby Smith fight, you need to check out his fights, because this guy has just been manhandling people, dominating, and we look to see more of that this Saturday at UFC 317. Kobe, thank you for joining us.
Stay tuned, baby. UFC 317, let's go. Canada, love you guys.
All right. He loves the Canadian bacon.
We love him back.
Didn't show so much love to Christian Savoy on the Contender Series. That was one of the most lopsided fights I think we've seen in a long time, because this guy's just that good.
I think we can make him an honorary Canadian now, though.
Yeah,
He loves
why
Canadian
not?
bacon. He just told everyone in Canada that he loves him, so
Yeah, we'll
honor.
do it. Hey, I mean,
That's the key to
if we want to
success.
have good fighters on our Canadian roster, I mean, we'll take them, no problem.
Yeah,
I
we're
mean,
just handing out citizenships left, right, and center here
Absolutely.
at UFC 317.
and his coach, Saif Sayoud, one of the brightest minds in the game. He does these breakdown videos from time to time where he's talking about some of the bigger UFC fights, and the way that he is able to dissect the games of fighters is really unparalleled. So he's in good hands in Dallas with Saif Sayoud, and he's from Muskogee, Oklahoma. Do you know Okie from Muskogee by Johnny Cash?
I do not.
Okay.
But I will look it up
All right.
after when
See,
I
that's
get
even
home.
before my time.
Yeah.
So that's how old I am.
But
yeah.
one of my best friends went to Oklahoma State, so.
All right.
Yeah.
Go Cowboys.
Go Pokes.
Pokes?
Yeah. I think this
No,
is
it's the Cowboys, isn't it?
But this
Oh.
is like, it's Go Pokes, I think
Go
is
Pokes.
their
Okay. See, we could have asked him, and he would have given us a
little
good
like
answer.
hand motion. I
All
hope.
right.
If anyone's watching who went to Oklahoma
Yeah.
State. So.
Well, they're not the Sooners. If you say they're the Sooners,
Yeah,
then they'll
that's
get really angry
University
with
of
you.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, that one you don't want
I'm
to do.
99.9% sure it's Go Pokes. I'll find him at some point this
Okay.
weekend.
Maybe we can have our producer Dan Fernandez get on the case
Please,
on that.
please
Go
check.
Pokes.
He's
Look that
checking,
up.
yeah.
All right.
I
He's
think
on it. He's on
that
it.
is the statement. But I really liked what he said because you're right. Massive favorite in this fight, and him saying that he views himself as the underdog. That's the mentality you have to come out and win these bouts. You can't think that it's going to be all easy just because that's what the books place you at.
Yeah, but at the same time, you got to look at public perception, and that's why this line got so big. I think he opened at minus 800, minus 900. To get all the way up to minus 2,500, that means that people are just basically blind betting you. Like that,
Yeah.
they're that confident that you're going to win a fight that people are putting, people build these parlays and stuff like that. He's probably just on everybody's because they just think that there's no way this guy can lose. That's the only way you can get up to minus 2,500, really, is if people think it's a lock. And I mean, in a fight, especially against the guy as dangerous as Nico Price, who we've seen over the years get so many wins in the UFC, that says a lot about what people think about you and your game.
Now, obviously, I come from the hockey world, and we have this saying in hockey where you can't say the S word, which is shut out. And I feel like the UFC version of that is you can't say the L word, which is this fight's a lock. Yeah. I feel like you're going to get the same result if you say that.
It's just too crazy of a sport. Where, like, let's say he's fighting and he lands like a knee. Let's say he's dominating the fight, and then he lands a knee to Nico Price while he's grounded, and it's an illegal strike, and get disqualified, right? Like, you can still lose even though you're winning every second of a fight. Like, that's how volatile the sport is. So you always have to keep that kind of stuff in mind. That being said, I mean, we see how good Jacoby Smith is, and I think this is a guy that just has an incredible future in the sport.
From what you've seen, how amazing is it the way he has been able to transition from being a college wrestler to now being in MMA? Because it's two widely different things.
Well, the most impressive part about it to me is a lot of people will rely on their wrestling. They'll come in and they'll wrestle people, they'll take them down, and they'll control them on the ground, they'll dominate them. This guy's a tremendous striker. Like, he's leveled up his striking to a point where that's the dangerous part of his game, and the wrestling he just has in his back pocket. And those are the wrestling-based fighters that I think end up having the best success. And you look at a guy like the aforementioned Bo Nickel in his last fight against Rainier DeRieder, like, he lost that fight because his striking is just not there. It's not as polished as it could be at this stage in his career. He can always rely on the wrestling. He was a borderline Olympic wrestler. He happens to be in a division that has perhaps the greatest wrestler in the history of that division that's competing right now that stopped him from being an Olympian. Goes to MMA, and I just feel like his striking game hadn't gotten to a level where it needed to be when he was fighting guys the level of Rainier DeRieder. Whereas guys like Jacoby Smith, they've worked so hard on their striking that becomes the big part of the game. Another example is another former Oklahoma State wrestler, Johnny Hendricks. Johnny Hendricks was a great wrestler in college, but his hands and his power were really what got him to the championship level in MMA.
And if we're talking about powerful strikers, let's just talk about our co-main for a quick second here. That's what Kai Kara-France is kind of known for. And do you think maybe he's one of those fighters in this card that's a bit underrated? Because when I was asking you which underdog do you think people are not talking about enough or giving enough focus to, the one that stood out to me is Kai Kara-France, just because of the way he matches up against Alexandre Pantoja.
Yeah, I think that you certainly can get a lot of value out of him. But that being said, you look at Pantoja and just how good he's been. I think that this line is probably where it should be, where Pantoja is like a minus 250 favorite, plus 200 for Kai Kara-France. These guys have fought before, and Pantoja won. I know it was a long time ago, but at the same time, you look at what Pantoja's been able to do so far, and he's been a very dominant champion. And once the bell goes on the main event, as long as Pantoja's won that fight, he'll be the longest reigning male champion in the UFC right now. I mean, if you still consider Islam the champion, that's not the case, but a lot of people consider that title to be vacant as we speak.
He almost is.
He sort of is.
He's teeter-tottering that line.
Yeah, because Islam's moved up, and the title's going to be vacated. It's just a technicality, really.
Yeah, for sure. Now, throughout our show, I feel like we're slowly giving our predictions for different fights. So you still think that Pantoja has that advantage in the co-main. When we take a look at the main, you mentioned how Charles Oliveira is one of your favorite fighters, but Ilia Topuria is just a force to be reckoned with. Do you have any predictions in terms of the way that fight's going to pan out?
Well, it's a hard fight to predict generally, just because there's so much volatility when you're picking against Charles Oliveira, because he's such a good offensive fighter. He's so good at getting the finish. I think that if Oliveira can find a way for this fight to be on the ground, his submission game is, first off, his submission offense is so fast. Like, in the blink of an eye, he's got a triangle on you, or he's got a choke on you. He's so good at transitioning to the back that it's hard to, when you look at odds like this, it's minus 450 for Topuria, and that line seems to be climbing as well. When you're getting Charles Oliveira with that kind of value, that's really difficult to overlook because he's so dangerous anywhere the fight goes. That said, you know, Topuria's got so much momentum right now, so it's hard to really make a firm prediction on that fight. I think more often than not, Topuria wins this fight, but like I won't definitively say, like, it certainly shouldn't be minus 450 in my opinion, because I think that Oliveira is so dangerous wherever the fight goes.
Who has the advantage if it goes the distance?
If it goes, if the fight goes the distance, I think something's gone terribly wrong. I don't think that this fight has a very good chance of going the distance. I think probably Ilya if it goes the distance, because Charles may slow down as it goes. Although his last fight against Michael Chandler went the distance, and Oliveira didn't seem to slow down all that much. So, but I'd be very surprised if the fight goes 5 rounds. I think that this fight I'd be surprised if this fight goes 3 rounds.
What about in our co-main? How long do you expect that one to go, and who do you think has the advantage the longer it goes?
Yeah, I think that it's a fight that could go 5 rounds. I certainly think it has a better chance of going 5 rounds than the main event. I think if it goes the distance, that's where Pantoja will have more of an advantage. I think if there's going to be a stoppage in this fight, it could be either Pantoja by submission, I think is the more likely finishing method for Pantoja, but I think that if there's a knockout, that's probably Kai Kara-France. His hands are just unbelievable for someone in this division.
Now, when we look at the fight that's happening between Royval and Van, what about these two fighters excites you so much for Dana to basically come out at the press conference and give them the accreditation that they've deserved for quite a bit of time now? Yeah,
I think it's more of Royval. Like, Royval, I think, feels like he's been disrespected. He probably could have gotten the title shot at this point in time because he's beaten Brandon Moreno, who was a former champion and has a lot of good wins on his streak right now. But I think that in this fight, I think that Royval's veteran savvy is really the key here. Van is still so young in his career. Royval is such again, one of these really potent finishers. He's always looking for finishes, and he is just a guy who puts his foot on the gas pedal, presses down on it as hard as possible for 3 rounds. And that's going to be tough for Joshua Van, because Joshua Van has historically been a slow starter. So I think that's kind of the key for Royval, is to get a fast start on Van and then just not lose that momentum, not cede any sort of ground as the fight goes on, because Joshua Van he's like a computer. He's one of these fighters like Piotr Jan, who he is able to really download that information as the fight goes on and then use that to his advantage and find ways to win the fight.
Do you think that Royval has some extra motivation being given Dana's stamp of approval publicly?
I don't think he needed extra motivation, but I think with that being mentioned, that having that sort of motivation is certainly not a bad thing.
Yeah. When was the last time you saw something like that at a press conference?
It happens from time to time, and but it seemed like it was kind of a knee-jerk reaction from Dana, which is kind of the best thing you want if you're a fighter, right? Like if you're a fighter, there was a time where Mike Bond, one of the reporters for MMA Junkie, kept asking Dana if you'd make the bonuses $300,000 for UFC 300 and stuff like that. And when you put him on the spot like that, it seemed like that's when he makes those decisions. Like, oh yeah, okay, I'll do that.
I like that.
It's almost like you're daring him to do something. So it feels like that's kind of what happened with Royval, and I think Royval's probably thrilled that that's the case, because now, he's been lobbying for a title fight for some time, and now it looks like that's what could be happening.
Yeah.
All right, let's see who's next. Here's Miguel Jose Delgado, who's taking on Haider Emil. He makes 145 and a half.
Miguel Delgado.
You can't make a pun with his name about Jose
No. I mean, if you have one, please feel free to share.
I need to think about it. Haider Emil was too easy.
Yeah, no, nothing I could think of. Do we have someone else coming out? All right. So Delgado makes weight 145 and a half pounds, taking on Haider Emil. And that should be a fun, action-packed fight as well. The prelims that we have on Sportsnet Plus and Sportsnet 360, they're all great action fights. But let's focus on the main card, because Joshua Van is here. We were just talking about your fight against Brandon Royval, and now stakes is high. Title fight could be what's next for you if you get a win. I mean, this is all happening very fast for you. You fought a couple weeks ago. Now you're fighting Brandon Royval, and now it could be for a title opportunity. So does it feel like it's happening very fast for you? Do you feel like you're on a roller coaster right now?
Yeah, definitely, but it's not a fast ride, you know what I mean? I know I'm going to be here one day, so it's just a blessing to be here. When I win Saturday, tomorrow, I'm going to get that title.
What was it like hearing Dana say that? It feels like he was just dared into saying that, and he backed you guys up.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I know it was going to be for a title, like, you know what I mean, coming to this. So it wasn't a surprise.
One thing I learned about you is that you're a great singer. I saw you at your church in Houston, and you belted out a couple tunes. So tell me about your connection with your church. So is this a church that are people from Myanmar that are in your community? Because I noticed your suit was very interesting in terms of...
that was the Chin culture. That was from Myanmar, you know. I'm from Chin, and I speak Chin Hakka, so our church is like a Chin community, which we speak Chin Hakka and stuff like that. So yeah, man, it's a good little community for the youth and all that.
And go ahead, Anna.
I was like, I'm guessing you're not going to sing for us right now, though.
Barely has a voice. He's just cutting
yeah,
weight.
not right now. Maybe after
Saturday, I will come find you.
So if you get a win and you get a title shot, we're getting a song.
We're getting a song.
We're gonna hear the gospel.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do you think is the key to beating a guy like Brandon Royval? I mean, historically you have been something of a slow starter. This is a guy that's a gas pedal fighter. He'll put his foot right on the gas pedal. What's your strategy for someone like that?
But he's a great fighter, so I got to be patient and be smart in there. You know what I mean? So I would smart him. You know, if we go to the ground or stay standing. You know, I just got to be smart.
Was there something in particular you focused on during camp, knowing you were going to face off against Royval?
Just stay calm and patient.
All right. Well, enjoy the roller coaster ride. We appreciate you.
We're waiting
us,
for
Josh.
a song.
All right. Thank you.
All right. 126 for Tracy Cortez.
For Tracy Cortez.
She makes weight, and she will be facing Viviane Araujo on the prelim card that we were just talking about. That's on Sportsnet 360, Sportsnet Plus. There are so many great action fights. You got the first one, Terrance McKinney, who we're still waiting on for making weight against Slava Bolshoi. I mean, if there's one fight, if you said to me, what's one fight that's not going to go the distance on this? I was talking about the main event.
Yeah.
This fight, I think, is probably even ahead of that as one that probably is not going to see the scorecards, even though it's a 3-round fight.
Yeah. We have so many good fights on this card. I was just going to ask you, do you think this is the best card we've had at least all year?
Well, without putting the other cards in front of me, it's hard for me to answer that question. But it's certainly a deep card, and I think that's something that is playing to the favor of this card. A lot of great action fights also. So if you're looking at like the entertainment quotient over name value, you know, I think that's certainly a possibility, because there's just some can't miss fights on this card. There are a lot of them, and I think that's what makes for an exciting card. Even if you are somebody who doesn't know the sport all that well and you don't recognize all the names, this is one of those ones you just kind of have to trust me. There's a lot of great action fights on this card, and again, McKinney versus Bolshoi, I think is not going to go to a decision. I think that Emil versus Delgado is like a real sleeper fight on this card. Hermanson, Gregory Rodriguez. I mean, you know, Rodriguez and Hermanson are always like just back and forth strikers. There's just a lot to like in terms of pure action on this card.
One fight we haven't talked about too much, we kind of teased it, was the battle between Moicano and Dariush. You got to talk to Renato a little bit earlier this week at Media Day, and he's such a character on inside and outside of the ring for sure. Yeah,
he says it's a buy low opportunity, and the reason why he says that is if you look at the odds when they were supposed to fight back in January, you had Moicano as a -175 favorite. Now it's basically an even money fight. Nothing really has changed aside Moicano fought for the championship against Islam Makhachev and lost in the first round. So he says, well, because I lost in the first round, the public perception on me has gone down. But like, it's still the same fight, still the same two fighters. You know, again, still basically the same age as one another. So I think that's an interesting way to look at it.
It's a huge 15 days of difference.
2-week difference.
2-week difference. It makes all the difference in the world.
And I mean, we also don't know what the period of gestation was for both of those. So one of them might actually have been conceived earlier. You just never know.
That's true. That's true. We have to do the analytics on whether they were born on their
need
due date, whether they were born
charts
premature, whether they were born a little bit late to get the real. We need due date.
Well, ask Dariush when he joins us.
What was your due date? You know, off the top of your head. But Moicano is such an interesting character, and he was definitely the most vocal at this press conference. I was going to say quite a lot of respect and calmness between a lot of the fighters there, and it seemed like Renato was the only one who was bringing the fire before actually getting to fight night. And
Moicano's talked openly about how at some point in his career he kind of noticed that you need to make a name for yourself. You need to stand out. You need to be loud, and you need to vocalize. And I think his biggest moment was when he was at Madison Square Garden and he won his fight, and he got on the mic and said, Moicano needs money. I cannot afford to lose. And it kind of really gained momentum, and he clung on, you know, kind of clung on to that as his moniker and
Yeah.
his persona. So I think that's been a really good thing to see from him. He's just one of the more vocal and outgoing fighters in the sport, and you love to see that. And he just became the spokesperson for a company as well. Like I think it's a financial company, and is doing some commercials, and they're really funny. So it's good to see him get those kind of opportunities.
Checks out with Moicano needs money. So
Yeah.
he found his little niche. I was going to ask you, in terms of personalities in the UFC, who are some of your favorite personalities? Because Renato's slowly becoming one of mine.
Yeah, I think he's up there for
he's,
sure.
he's so funny.
Yeah, there are a lot of big personalities in the sport, and it might be Moicano honestly at this point in time. I'm trying to think of others that are really vocal and outgoing and like to kind of tell it like it is and have fun without like pushing the envelope all that much and you getting into like culture wars type stuff. I think that Moicano is definitely up there.
Dariush is like kind of the complete opposite. He just seems like he was a dad at this press conference waiting for the fight to roll around, and Moicano's yapping at him. He's not even responding. But what do you expect to see out of this bout?
Yeah, Dariush is honestly one of the nicest guys in the sport. And also he's won the award that Charles Oliveira won at the Hall of Fame last night just for his philanthropical work. He puts so much into helping his community. So he's certainly a good guy. But in terms of the fight itself, it's a tough one to call. Because I think on the feet, Dariush is probably the heavier striker. He doesn't have as much output as Moicano does, but if it gets to the ground, I think it really depends on who has top position, because I think that they're both very good at what they do. All right, we've got Jack the Joker Hermanson joining us right now. He's going to be facing Gregory Rodriguez. So it's been a minute since your last fight. What was with the layoff? What was the reason?
It has been injuries. The body doesn't always work, but I had a surgery, but now we're back.
So Aaron, actually, when you were making weight, said that you have the best smile in the UFC. So there we go.
There it is. What do you think?
I agree.
That's the Joker smile, right?
And that's why you chose to name the Joker?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, it's a fitting name. And I saw you've been here for a little bit in terms of Las Vegas, acclimating. You did some hiking and things like that. When did you get here?
Yeah, I got here the 14th, so 2 weeks in advance of the fight, to get used to the heat and to the different time zone.
Is there something in particular you focused on getting ready to be in this bout against Rodriguez?
Yeah, he's really dangerous early in the fight. He's a power puncher, heavy hitter, so I'll be working on my defense, my mobility, and my footwork. So I'm trying to be the smarter, faster, quicker, more endurance. So using my skills to my advantage.
You once told me the proper Swedish way of saying your last name. Let me see if I remember it properly. Hermansson, is that right?
It's pretty good. Hermansson.
Hermansson? All right.
That was good.
Yeah. I mean, it's all these years in, when we're in North America, our exposure to Swedish culture is like through IKEA. So
I know a lot about Sweden.
Do you?
I've been to Sweden many a time. So
all right.
Have you had your fika today? Or
yeah,
there we go. See?
Always,
Right. There you go. See, all I have is IKEA.
Yeah.
You've actually
my
experienced the culture.
My dog has a Swedish name. His name's Gunnar.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
There we go. See?
All right. I do know that Swedish people are generally taller, right? Like the average height is like for men is like 6'1" or something, and for women it's like 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah, something like that. I can see the kids growing up now. Everybody's taller than me, so.
So if I walk around in Sweden as like a man who's like 5'8", people will look at me like I'm some sort of weird troll.
No, we have a good mixture of people there, but yeah, definitely would be under the average.
So after you cut weight and you're trying to get it all back, what's your go-to food? Is it cinnamon rolls? Sweden has the best cinnamon rolls.
Yeah, they have really good cinnamon rolls. I'll be careful what I'm putting in my body now, just some clean food. But
after the fight.
Yeah, after the fight, I'm gonna go for those cinnamon rolls for sure.
And let's talk about this matchup, because I think this is the kind of matchup that you really are drawn to. It's a guy who's going to be throwing strikes at you in your face the whole time, because that's your style as well. So it's kind of like who's put pressure on each other, and let's see who buckles first.
That's it. And I think I faced a similar opponent in my last fight with Joe Pfeiffer. So and I think I showed everybody what I can do to an opponent like that.
And how important was a fight like that for you? Because you were a big underdog in that fight. You're actually a decent-sized underdog in this fight, but it really showed people that they should not be sleeping on you.
No, definitely.
I guess they haven't learned the lesson yet.
That's it. I'm a veteran, and just lost to the absolutely the best guys in the division. So I'm not an easy fight for anybody, and we'll make sure to win this one as well.
Some fighters like going into bouts as the underdog because it gives them a little extra motivation. Do you feel like it adds a little extra motivation for you?
I really don't care about it. I've lost when I was a favorite and won when I was an underdog, so I don't think that makes so much difference for me.
All right, great. Well, it's always a pleasure catching up with the Joker, Jack Hermansson.
Hermansson, that's
Hermansson.
Tack så mycket.
All right, there you go.
But I'm impressed. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Jack Hermansson taking on Gregory Rodriguez on Saturday. I'm impressed too. I didn't know you know so much about Sweden.
I cover a team that is filled with Swedes. So the Toronto Maple Leafs and our entirely Swedish roster have taught me a lot about Swedish culture.
How many Swedes are on the team?
William Nylander's on the team. Oliver Ekman-Larsson's on the team. Kalle Järnkrok's on the team. Pontus Holmberg's on the team. We actually have less because we traded away a couple, but the Toronto Maple Leafs love Sweden, so I get to learn a lot about Swedish culture.
You forgot about Matt Sundin, who's on the team.
Matt Sundin is not on the team.
Oh, he's not on the team anymore.
If Matt Sundin was still on the team, that would be a much bigger news story. And of course, I got to give a shout out to our camera guy, Vern. Vern also Swedish.
Yeah, Vern's Swedish. That's true. And the Hives.
Yeah.
The band The Hives. We'll give them a shout out. Here he is, Brandon Raw Dog Royval, joining us. Big news yesterday. It looks like this fight's a title limit. I mean, personally, I think you've earned a title shot by beating Brandon Moreno, but now it's official.
Well, yeah, it's official, and feel good, man. I feel good about it, and it gets me all more excited to go in there, face Joshua Van, and make this happen and go make a statement on him.
What did it feel like to hear Dana just come out and say it like that?
Oh, I know, a little manipulation, but I appreciate it, and I appreciate the guy that asked that. Yeah, it was perfect.
All right, I'm going to steal the question that I'm sure Anna was going to ask you, which is, I hear that Nathan McKinnon is coming to the fight.
Yeah.
You know, Anna covers hockey for us here at Sportsnet as well as MMA from time to time. So
I got all the teams correct yesterday. They did like a UFC pop quiz of like who can get all the hockey teams like in there and like the city that they're from and
you crushed it?
Yeah. They had to stop asking me because I could have kept going all day.
Where did the Mammoth play?
Colorado. Oh wait, the Colorado Mammoth. Sorry, there's a lacrosse.
This is a trick question.
They're new.
And they're NHL.
Yeah, they just chose their name though. They moved to Utah. They used to be the
Utah
Coyotes.
Mammoth. That's crazy.
I know nothing about hockey, so I actually feel bad that I just got you.
Yeah. You got a trick question. That's crazy.
It is a trick question. But what got you into hockey? Where did it start?
Hockey is my favorite sport. My grandma was my grandma married a guy that was like a huge hockey fan, and like he was like a hockey hooligan. Like he'd go to the games. Like back in the day, the games were like way more violent, and like hockey back in the day was crazy. But he would go and like he'd fight hockey players. He'd like talk shit to the other team. It's like I think it was like the Rockies. We had Colorado Rockies. They're the hockey team. My grandpa had a stick that he stole from the other player on the other team. Yeah, he was a hockey. He was like a hockey savage. So I grew up just loving hockey, and then. When Colorado came, when we got the Colorado come to town from the Quebec Nordiques, the first year we won a Stanley Cup, and I've just been a huge hockey fan ever since. And so I've just been, that's like hockey's my favorite sport.
Who are your favorite players ever?
Nathan McKinney might be my favorite player. Joe Sakic, Peter Forsberg, Raymond Bourque, they're my favorite players of all time. All Avalanche players, but I was a huge Boston fan too, and when Raymond Bourque came over, I was like, when I was a little kid and Raymond Bourque came over and won the Stanley Cup and he howled and I cried. Hockey's my sport.
That team might be the most stacked team ever.
Oh yeah, there's no time.
There's
no way we're gonna lose to Patrick Wall. Yeah, Peter Forsberg, Joe Sakic. Yeah, we had the greatest team, and Ray Bourque. We had a team that could have been full of captains, like. Yeah, when
wasn't
Ray
Adam Foote on that team also?
Adam Foote, yeah.
Insane, absolutely
insane. It was the best.
Now
it was a good time to be a hockey fan, like for like a Colorado kid,
Yeah, when you were growing up, right? Like your formative years.
Yeah, and then I loved fighting, so we had a strong fighting team. So when we were like beefing with the Red Wings for years, So like out of all the teams that I can't stand, Red Wings is
number one.
Yeah, number one. Yeah. Fuck the Wings.
From your friendship with Nate, something I know about Nathan McKinnon is he is a food nut. Like, he takes his diet very seriously. So are there any tips that Nathan McKinnon has given you about making weight?
No, he definitely should do that because, it's a new I just found out he trains a little bit of MMA, but for me, I do the opposite. I eat like shit, so I have
really?
I'm sorry.
I'm scared to eat a carb around him.
Oh, really? That's funny. I eat cookies. I eat it all. So, I have to be very on track with what I eat for like months at a time. So, it's easy for the rest of the month to just enjoy life, you know.
How are things going with the new team? I know that you broke off from Factory X about a year ago.
Oh, it's great. I feel like we're killing it. And, you know, I work with a lot of teams and a lot of fighters through Colorado. So I'm very lucky in that sense. So it's just awesome, man. And it's just cool to get individual attention. And, you know, I got to bring a belt back to my team sooner than later.
What are you expecting out of this fight with Joshua, man?
I mean, I'm expecting pure chaos. But honestly, I'm the king of that. And, you know, he walks forward, but he's walking straight into a wood chipper every time he makes a step forward. I'm longer than anybody's ever fought. I use my range. I have good hands. And I use all my weapons. I'm not just a boxer. I can knee him in the face. I can elbow him. I can spin on him. I can do a bunch of cool stuff. So he's just fighting one-dimensional strikers. I'm far from that, you know. And if it goes to ground, he's dead.
This might be a better, tougher question for you to answer, because I know that if you're going to fight for the championship, it's going to be a 5-round fight. But do you feel like you're better in 3-round fights because your foot's firmly on the gas pedal for as long as the fight goes? And I know you can go 5 rounds, but when you're putting, you can put even more pressure on fighters over the course of 3 rounds than you can over the course of 5 rounds. Would you agree with that?
No, I think 5 rounds I'm the more suitable for 5 rounds because I out cardio everybody. I'm a Colorado, like in Colorado, you guys probably don't know much, but Colorado's high in elevation.
Oh, I was there last year, dude, and like you get there and you just start like you're standing there, you just stand
I'm like,
on the
I'm
spot
so
and
tired
breathe. You're like,
from
oh
standing
my God,
up.
I need to take a nap.
Yeah, so I got good cardio for the athletes out there. I'm known for like cardio amongst my teams and people in Colorado. So out here it's nothing, bro. I can hit a treadmill all day and all that stuff. So I like going 5 rounds just because I think cardio is an advantage I have over most of the world.
Yeah, the reason I asked that is because like,
I get what you're saying.
if you're going 3 rounds, like you can drive like 140.
Yeah,
whereas
yeah.
when 5 rounds you're driving 120.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And some people can hang with 120, but 140 when you're going 140 over the course of 3 rounds, not a lot of people that can handle that.
No, I agree, and that's the game plan this time too. Is this kid's a little bit that way too? He has a good cardio base, but I think I'm one of the best in the world at that, and I think I agree with you. It's like this is a good chance to just step on the gas and just watch him melt, you know.
That's why we love watching you fight, my friend. All right.
I have one last question for you. One last question. So when you're watching hockey and you see them drop the gloves, do you ever like think in your head that they're doing it wrong when they're?
Always. But it's funny because you know their strategy is like they got their own strategy. Right. They got a strategy. It's like I don't get why they grab each other, but like it obviously makes sense.
I think it's so they don't fall down.
You keep each other balanced and all that stuff. It's like I would if they're trying to grab me. I was like I'd do anything to keep someone grabbing and start nailing them, but. There's obviously like rhyme and reason because those dudes are good. I remember Scott Parker. Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Scott Parker,
Scott Parker's a fighter though.
A beast.
He would teach me like he said you grab this and then you put your knuckle right there and then you start pulling them in and then I was like, dang, that's like a whole little strategy of how you fight, you know. But he had a big old knuckle and that guy was the best fighter.
I think he's a tattoo artist now, right, in Colorado?
Yeah, he does it all, man. He does a little bit of neurology stuff. He does so much cool stuff. He's a real cool guy on Colorado, man, and he's really like on the forefront of like brain health and all that stuff because you know he's been in so many fights. So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Brandon, thank you, man.
Thank
Always
you so
appreciate
much.
the chance to speak with you.
All right, have a good one.
All right, last athlete coming to the scale.
Lightweight division, Terrance McKinney.
All right, here's Terrance McKinney, T-Rex.
That's a fun nickname.
I'm
trying to think of what mine would be.
I don't know.
I'm pondering.
Yeah,
do you have one?
No, but if I come up with one, we can go with it. All right, let's see if Terrance made the weight here. He's smiling. He looks like he's doing okay, but we'll find out in a second. What did he say? What did they say? I think he might have missed the weight, but we're gonna wait one more second. We'll be joined momentarily by Hyder Emil. We're just seeing what's going on here with Terrance McKinney.
You want me to help you commentate?
Yeah. What are you seeing?
Yeah, what are you seeing, Hyder?
He's looking like he's having a rough time here, and they're dropping the draws. So let's see if he makes weight or not. Oh, his face.
He was smiling. He's no longer smiling.
No, the smile's gone. Now it's a look of fear.
Get out. Sorry.
And he won't get an extra hour either because he's not fighting for a championship, so he needs to make the weight.
Ooh. I've been there. I've always made weight, though.
All right,
Yes,
he's on 156.
Let's go.
T-Rex.
Let's go. I'm happy for the kid.
All right, good for
I've been
Terrance
there. I
McKinney.
know what it feels like. You're twiggling your toes. You're doing all that. Yeah.
Aaron and I were talking earlier, actually, and we're wondering, so now we can get an answer. Is it more nerve-wracking sometimes to make weight than it is for the actual fight?
I'm actually nervous only about the weight cut. The fight is fun for me. It's
Yeah.
exciting, and no matter what the odds are, they always have me as underdog and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I genuinely like fighting. A lot of fighters fight.
Yeah.
I'm the only one who genuinely likes fighting. If you've seen my fights, I'm the only one who fights like a real gangster in fights. So, yeah.
That is true. I mean, your fights in the UFC so far have been just chaos, and it seems like you're always coming out on the other side where people are just unable to deal with what you bring to them over the course of the fight.
That's right. That's why they call me the Hurricane, because I'm a force, you know. And my last fight, I had a lot of things going against me. You know, like I was injured the whole camp. It's hard to get my weight down because I was injured. I had a brace from my ankle to my hip 2 weeks before my fight, and my dad died 2 weeks before my fight and stuff
Sorry
like
to hear
that.
that.
So now I healed. I got proper help. So I'm super ready to show the world what's up.
Was that the Gomi fight, the last one?
It was the Gomi
Because
fight.
that guy's a tough puzzle to solve, man.
That guy was huge too,
He's a
like
big
at this
dude,
weight,
yeah.
and I felt like I was fighting Spider-Man, because like I would get his leg and try to sweep him out, and he could just stay balanced,
Yeah.
you know. And he was very lean. It's hard to fight a very tall striker who's also strong and very good hips and athletic. That the athleticism is something to factor as well.
And he's a guy that just likes to outpoint people too, right? And that's not
Exactly.
really what the kind of style of fight that you like to be in. You like to bring it to your opponents.
I
And
like to
think,
bring it,
yeah.
yes.
And I think that a guy like that's so tactical is probably again a tough puzzle to solve.
On paper, that should be my kryptonite, and a lot of times people think they look at someone's finishes and all that. Sometimes the guy that doesn't give you like a Floyd Mayweather in boxing the opportunity to get hit, that guy stays winning. And William Gomez hadn't lost in 8 years before me, and I beat William Gomez with all those injuries. So I just put some money on me. This fight is gonna be exciting. I have a guy who's more dangerous as opposed to fight Nathaniel Wood, but now I'm fighting Jose Delgado. I had a guy try. I had 2 pullouts and then him, so I'm just thankful he came to fight. He seems like an aggressive opponent. So.
What are you expecting out of this fight against Delgado?
You know what? I expect a versatility of striking offense and defense from him. He's very skilled. He can do lefty and righty. He can fight from the outside, and he can do flying knees. He reminds me a lot of Carlos Condit. Do you know who that fighter is?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so he reminds me a lot of Carlos
National born
Condit.
killer.
So, man, I'm excited for this one, you know, because he's down to battle. I'm always down.
I see you train with Gilbert Melendez, and I heard him calling the LFA fights last week. I mean, and he's seeing things like seconds before they happen. He knows exactly like it must be just a real blessing to have someone like that in your corner that's able to dissect things in real time with the kind of intelligence that he's able to bring to the table.
His experience is amazing, and I started with Gil, and he's brought me all the way up here. So when you have a guy as a commentator, they do this all the time. Man, it's just like, oh, I just feel like hyper confident about everything, that I have the right direction, especially when I need it at the most important parts of the fight.
All right, well, you just cut weight. So you know what time it is?
Fuel time.
He's gonna make the world's worst
It's
joke.
time for a meal. It's
It's
time for a meal.
I'm not a snack.
And then tomorrow night-
I'm a meal. I'm a meal.
And tomorrow night is time for a meal. We're looking forward
you,
to seeing
guys.
you against Delgado again. Like I said earlier, this is like a sleeper fight on the card, in my opinion.
Thank
so
you.
looking forward to it. Thank
I
you for joining
appreciate
us.
you guys. Thanks for having me.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
Take
All
care.
right.
He's
Hi
been
to
waiting
Emil.
all day to say that.
Awesome. I need to make a shirt. My friend's like, you need to make a shirt. You're not a snack. You're a meal. Dude,
All right,
thank
my
you
man.
so much.
Nice. Thanks for joining us.
We'll
See, he likes a good dad joke. Just
We'll have
like,
to get
just
him
like
to send you one
everybody.
of those shirts, actually.
Yeah, I'll wear it. No problem. All right. Well, everybody is on weight for the card, which is a great thing because we don't need to, wait around, see what people are going to do. And so the last guy to make weight, Terrance McKinney, they brought out the box, and he was able to make 156 pounds.
You could
so
see
that
the
fight's a
smile
go.
leave his face.
I know, right? It was like,
Immediately.
it was like a total stark change
Yeah.
in personality.
Yeah, but what Hyder just said was exactly what you were saying earlier, that the most stressful part of their week is just making weight,
Yeah.
more so than the fight. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anyone this excited to fight as Hyder
Yeah,
Emil,
right.
so maybe he's an anomaly there, but it's very clear how stressful this process is compared to everything else. that
Yeah,
they have to
and I can kind of explain why. And the reason why I think that if you asked every fighter on this card, what is more nerve-wracking, the weight cut or the fight itself, I think almost all of them are saying the weight cut. And the reason why is because you can't train for a weight cut. When you're going in there to fight, all you're doing in training camp is sparring and learning technique and doing all of these different drills. Nobody's like, oh, well, today we're going to cut 10 pounds, and that's going to be our workout for the day. It's detrimental to your health and your liver and your kidneys and things like that too, to cut weight, when you don't need to, right? So that's why they're so nervous, because it's not something that you can really prepare for in practice. It's something you need to be mentally prepared for, and it can break you more than being in a fight can, because at least you're getting all these rounds of sparring and all of this. So you're more prepared for that element of things, whereas you can't really prepare for a weight cut.
I thought it was really funny that Brandon Royval was just saying that he ate basically whatever he wanted and still somehow
And
managed.
he's like 5'9" also. Like he's a pretty tall flyweight. Most
He's
of the flyweights.
manifesting making weight.
Yeah, I mean I guess so. But if you watch his fight with Brandon Moreno,
Yeah.
I think that fight was in Mexico City, which is even higher elevation than Denver, and he threw like 350 strikes. All right, so when we look at this card overall, I think, again, like I said, I'm happy everybody has made weight, but I'm talking to Hyder Emil. I mean, you just get such a good sense from him that he's so excited for his moment.
Yeah, it's not just going to be the main card. It's going to be the prelims that have such exciting fights on deck. But why don't we just go down the main card right now, and let's give out some predictions.
Sure.
Should we? Yeah, should we start with the Talbot and Lima fight?
So I'm just going to preface this by saying I don't love making predictions because
You're gonna
the
have to
fight
do
game
it.
is so volatile.
Yeah.
But let's say
And if
the
you're
most
wrong,
likely
I'm
outcome. I'm
gonna-
gonna say this is you give me a fight and I'll tell you what I think the most
Likely outcome is?
Yeah.
Okay. I will publicly shame you if you're wrong.
Okay.
Anyway, starting off with the Talbot and Lima fight, who do you have in this one?
I think the most likely
Yeah.
outcome is Lima by decision. But I think the sleeper outcome is a Peyton Talbot knockout.
You're being so like politically correct right now, phrasing it in a way where you can't be held wrong.
Okay.
So, but that's fine. That's fine. You can do that.
I mean, if Peyton wins a
Yeah.
decision or
Yeah.
submission, I'm wrong.
That's true. That's true.
Or
You're
if Lima
giving me
gets a
minimal
finish.
options to shame you right now.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, the Dariush and Moicano fight.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I feel like this is the toughest one on the card.
I'm going to say a Moicano decision is the most likely.
Royval and Joshua Van.
I think a Royval
Yeah.
decision is
Ooh.
the most likely.
So now we're just given one option. We started with two options in the first one, and you're
Yeah.
down to just one prediction, which is what I like.
Yeah, that's what you want,
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly what I wanted. Pantoja and Kai Kara France.
I'm going to say Pantoja decision.
How many rounds?
A decision, 5 rounds.
Oh, 5 rounds. Oh, you said decision. I
Decision,
didn't even
yeah,
hear you say
sorry.
that.
Not submission, yeah.
Yeah. Ilya Topuria, Charles Oliveira.
I think the most likely outcome is a Topuria knockout in the first 2 rounds.
In the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree. I think if we see round 3 in this
Again,
fight.
most likely
Yeah.
outcome.
Yeah.
But, if you're looking at the lines and, like, for value and things like that, like, I think that Talbot's got value. I think that Oliveira's got value. I think Royval, as an underdog, has a lot of value. All right. We have one last guest, I believe, today, and he is the backup for tomorrow night's main event. He is Arman Tsarukyan. Thank you for joining us, Arman, and nice to see you making 155 pounds today in the event that one of these other fighters, something happens leading up to the fight. So I had also heard that you might be making weight again in New Orleans. Is that the case?
Thank you. Good to see you too.
Threw a lot at you at
yeah,
once
so
there.
I just cut my weight, and I'm not on the best shape to talk, but if we can do like a short interview, it would be
100%.
great.
Yep. Well, we're
So-
live, so tell us about the weight
just
cut
like-
and how
weight
that
cut was good, was easy. So I never have an issue with the weights, and everybody thinks like what happened in California because of weight cut, but I was good with my weight, and I just hurt my back, and I couldn't move. That's why I couldn't cut my weight. So, and now, if UFC say like you have a fight next week, next month, so I'll take it as well and cut that weight as well.
For the Poirier and Holloway fight?
Yep.
So you'll be doing the weigh-ins for that as well?
Maybe if they say me like you want to be back up again, and if there is a chance that someone gonna pull out, yes, why not?
So what happened in January? Your back just seized on you and you couldn't walk?
No, I just hurt my sciatic nerve. It just blocked, and I couldn't move.
Yeah. How difficult is it to cut weight and train to be in this backup position and have to be in that shape, ready to go, not knowing if you're going to have to or not?
Easy, to be honest, because I don't know. I just was training very well, and I did all my sparrings. I already know like how I should fight with Oliveira, and so easy to prepare for Topuria. You just need a good boxer who can maybe calf kick, and so that's just do. You can like bring good boxer and do sparring with him and wrestle. So it's the easiest fighter to prepare.
And Ilya has said he doesn't think that you should get the next fight, that you need to fight one more time. And then he's talking about Paddy Pimblett getting the shot. I mean, to me, I believe that's pretty unfair to you. I feel like you've already beaten Charles Oliveira.
Because they know I'm going to beat them both. You know, that's why Charles, he doesn't want to even say my name, and he was surprised that I'm back up. He's surprised why I'm back up, you know, and I just beat you like last year, you know, and he came beat the guy who beat everybody, Michael Chandler, and he got the title fight. So, I mean, I'm the next, and I will be fighting for the title, and I deserve it.
When would you like to fight for the title in a perfect world?
As soon as possible. So.
Doesn't matter to you.
Doesn't matter.
They call you, you're in.
Yeah, they call me, I'm in, and whatever they said, I'll do it.
What are you expecting out of this main event this weekend?
It's a good fight, so I'm so excited to watch. One guy has a good, powerful hands, and Oliveira, he has a very good grappling. But to be on the ground, Ilya is not gonna try to take him down. So they're gonna strike, and Ilya overstrike him, and he could knock him out. So, but if Oliveira gonna use his kicks, and he could make him problem. But my opinion is Topuria by KO.
If this fight gets to the ground, how dangerous is Oliveira? You've been in there with him before. Do you think that he could potentially sub Topuria if it gets to the ground?
He's so dangerous, but this fight is not going to be on the ground. Topuria has no freestyle wrestling, no takedowns to take down Oliveira.
Yeah, but what if Oliveira tries to take him down?
Sorry. Oliveira has no freestyle wrestling, good wrestling to take down Topuria.
Okay. All right, Arman, thank you so much for joining us.
So
he's weighed in at 155 pounds. If anything happens between now and the fight,
I'm
you're
here,
stepping
just
in.
call me.
All
He's
right.
ready, he's waiting.
Pick up the phone. All right. Arman Tsarukyan joining us. He's the backup fighter for the main event tomorrow evening.
Yeah. We got a prediction, too, from him. He says he likes Topuria with a knockout.
Yeah, and he doesn't think that's going to go to the ground. So I think, honestly, like if there's a way for Charles to get it to the ground, that's where he's going to be most dangerous, where he's always most dangerous, because he's has the most submissions in UFC history, so I'm not speaking out of turn here.
Yeah, absolutely, and I feel like this is a defining moment for Topuria, right? Somehow he's still a little bit underrated. Like, he's pretty low on the list for the pound-for-pound power rankings, so that is something he said he didn't care about at the press conference. However, you would think he would want a little bit more recognition with the tear that he's been on.
I've got a nickname for you, by the way.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, you're talking. I'm not listening because I've
okay,
got
you were
this
just thinking
nickname
about the nickname.
Yeah. So you cover hockey for us here at Sportsnet, but you've also been doing MMA with us. So you're the Dua Threat.
The Dua Threat. Wait, I like that. That's
not
good.
Bad, right? Because it also has a bit of a fighting connotation with the threat in there.
I do like this. This is a good one. I need to think of one for you too, but I'll need a minute to think on this because we're all concluded, wrapped up the weigh-ins here ahead of the fight this Saturday, UFC 317. We had so many amazing guests who hopped on with us to chat about the main card, the prelims. It's such an exciting day of fighting ahead of us, Aaron.
Well, why don't we thank everybody who joined us? So let's go down the list. So we had Brandon Royval. Because it happens so fast, we sometimes can't digest it. Brandon Royval, Joshua Van, Felipe Lima, Jack Hermanson, Haider Emil, and Arman Tsarukyan and Jacoby Smith.
Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of people joined us.
An action-packed weigh-in show, and we're excited to see a lot of them fight this Saturday.
And it's always great to have them come and talk to us now, because a lot of them, after they cut weight, they just want to eat and replenish.
They do.
For them to give us their time, we always appreciate that.
Yeah, but Brandon Royval gave us the entire history of the Quebec Nordiques. Well, thank you so much for joining us on our weigh-in show. Remember to tune in to UFC 317 on Saturday.